Slating for camera.
I'm leaving this in.
Penny, would you like to slate? Oh. Welcome to Dipped in Tone, everyone. I'm Rhett.
I'm Zach.
We're in person.
We are. This is weird.
This might be the third episode we've ever done in person.
I think so.
Fourth, maybe?
Yeah. I always forget how tall you are.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it on the way up here. Tilly and I have not been to Nashville in almost a year. It's been like 11 months, which did not feel like that long.
So you're missing all the new like pancake places and fried chicken places.
Okay.
And
if I can, just shit on Nashville for a second here. The drivers here, I know everyone, this is like a bit, right? This is a whole thing. Oh, the drivers in your city, you can't drive. Honestly, genuinely, the drivers in Nashville, people cannot drive in this town.
You know why? Because they're not from here.
Yeah.
They're all from elsewhere, and all the out-of-staters are just ruining this.
Honestly, it's bad. It is very, very bad. But yeah.
Matthew and I were talking about that today, and it's like everyone says, oh, it's the worst here, and I'm like, I've driven in New York, and I would much rather drive here.
I'm from Atlanta, and we genuinely have some of the worst traffic in the country.
But you don't drive, you just sit.
Or you just, it's like the Hunger Games out there. But everybody's like at least moving at a certain pace, and everyone has the same level of aggression, and you just kind of know what the deal is.
Sure.
Here, it's a lot of people that just don't, like, what? Where do I go? Should I stop? Anyway, yeah. So we're back.
Phantom jams.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Dipped in Tone. This is our second episode, kind of back just the two of us.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Thank you so much for the kind response on the last episode. It was genuinely really great. Shout out to Addison, producer Addison, behind the camera. He'll be joining us in the bonus segment, Patreon episode, which I guess we should plug our Patreon.
So we are updating the Patreon, consolidating. So if you're interested in supporting the show, we're going to simplify the whole thing. It's going to be switching over probably. By the time this episode is up, it should probably be swapped to the new format. But we're going to have one tier, $5. You get access to a after show, some discounts on Mythos stuff, merch, all that's coming. But the Mythos discounts will be valid. Yeah,
you can watch us live too while we're recording. And we do a bonus episode now after every episode, which we did last time, and it was actually really great. We went for like 40 minutes and got pretty deep on it. So
yeah,
sign
40
up.
Minutes and deep.
Sign up.
Just how I like it.
Link down below. Patreon. Sponsor for this episode is, I guess, you.
Hey, yeah, it's me.
This space.
HighVoltageGuitars.com here at the shop. So we're here. It's dark, but we're making it work.
Yeah, we are in High Voltage Guitars showroom, which is the first time I've been here, and it's honestly impressive because the last time I was here, this was literally an empty room.
Well, it was a room full of junk.
Yeah, it was a storage room basically, and man, you guys have done a great job.
Yeah, it's come together. It's one of those things that whenever we got done, we switched the website on, and we just thought, we're just going to sell everything within like the first week, and we've had to like temper ourselves because it's been a very normal like sale rate on stuff, and that's fine, but it's all really exciting, and the people that visit really like it, and I think hopefully this will be a thing.
So you guys are appointment only right now,
except on Saturdays.
We
might change it to where Fridays just open.
Okay.
But Saturdays are just come. But book an appointment. If you show up, we'll let you in. Maybe.
Well, yeah, it depends on what. I mean, right now, if someone shows up, we're not going to let you in because we're filming. But you got some good stuff in here, man. Pile of Dr. Z's right in front of us here. A whole row of Two Rocks over there.
Yes.
Which I'd actually like to try. I haven't really ever played a vintage deluxe other than at NAMM, which you can't, that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
The new Divided by 13's back here.
Yeah.
Which I'd also like to play this FTR because this is the sort of updated version. And I think you guys are about to sell me something, but maybe we should keep that a mystery for now.
Yeah, it wasn't even on the website, so.
Yeah. Which
is good.
It's a little insider trading here, but
yeah,
perks of having a podcast with the store owner.
So how has everything been going for you since the last time we spoke, which was, I guess, a week ago, so not much happened, but maybe there has been.
My EP came out.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. EP. The early days dropped Tuesday, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the response has been overwhelming. I knew people were going to, I knew there would be some nice comments and everything. But I've been getting texts and calls and messages from people that like I didn't even know would have known about it. Cause to be honest with you, I did an absolutely terrible job of promoting the thing. Like it was
it's your first time.
It was the day before the EP was supposed to drop, and I realized, I have done nothing to talk about this, and I have no material on it. So I like quickly shot a video for my channel. I quickly made an Instagram post. But yeah, honestly, I could not be happier with the response. It's exactly the things that people are saying about it are exactly what I wanted to hear, which was we were over at Novo earlier. Shooting some stuff, and Travis from Nova was like, man, I was expecting it to be kind of like a nerdy, annoying guitar record. I don't think he said annoying, but it's just like a nerdy guitar record, but it was actually like really cool and listenable and a vibe, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, so. And I kind of knew a little bit from things that you had posted and sent that it wasn't going to be just a noodle fest.
Yeah.
Which just living in Nashville, just literally everywhere is a noodle fest.
Yeah.
And anytime music comes out that people are pushing, it's typically that. So to me, it's like, it's the music I listen to when I work, which is, it's enjoyable. There's melody. It's not distracting, and it's repeatable. Like that EP, you could just put it on loop, and you could enjoy it, throughout the day.
Yeah, some friends of mine, like my friend Bobby, who owns the District Cycles bike shop in Oklahoma, he was telling me, man, we've had it on loop in the bike shop for the last 2 days, and people are coming in like, what is this? What are we listening to? Which is unbelievably encouraging to hear. So yeah, if you've streamed it, thank you. If you enjoyed it, thank you. Please keep streaming it, because I'm learning that Spotify numbers are really important, and I would like to find a booking agent and all that kind of stuff to be able to go out on the road next year. And when you start to try and book this stuff, venues, agents, everybody, they want to see streaming numbers. So even if you don't like it, just like put it on and mute it and just let it spin.
Are you going to get eventual actual physical pressings or something made?
I don't know. I thought about it. It's only 6 songs. Yeah. So I guess we could do 3 songs aside. I've never done anything like that before. If we did, I think I would do it like open it up for pre-order and just say, hey, this is only going to happen once, one vinyl pressing of the early days. If you want it, pre-order it. Because what I don't want to do is say, I'm going to have 500 copies printed, and then I'm sitting on boxes of vinyl for the next 5 years.
I don't even know how, what the minimum run of something like that would be.
I don't either.
Oh, you know what you could do? You could just put them all on one side, and then the other side have them all backwards.
Yeah. And have people try and decipher the satanic messaging in my guitar lines. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Should I print vinyl of it?
As long as you don't make a cassette tape, because I know that's a thing, and that just you might like it.
I would like it.
But to me, it's like, what am I going to do?
Well, to be fair, it does exist on one cassette tape, because when I got my cassette, I bought a Tascam 112 mastering deck a few months ago, and to test it out, I printed all of the masters onto a cassette tape. So it does exist on one cassette, and I kind of like it that way. It's only going to be that one.
Right. You should have people bid on it.
Yeah. If you want the one early days cassette tape, we'll start the bidding at $12.
Oh, that's not bad. I would bid $12.
What's new with you?
You're looking at it. But just gearing up for Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. If you didn't already assume that.
I mean, I'm looking at your
Proton Pack. There's one. There's more. There's one. Another one in the back. There's one at home. But yeah, I'm excited to dress up as James Hetfield and walk around my neighborhood with my Explorer and just scare the living crap out of my neighbors.
So, okay, in your neighborhood, what's the over under on people that will know the costume reference?
Nobody's gonna know. Nobody.
Really?
I mean, there may be a few a few folks that know.
Well, there's other 40-year-old dads in that neighborhood.
Yeah, but they're not. I don't know, because Graham is going to be Kirk.
Yeah, which you showed me. Tell him about the guitar that you made him.
Right. So we were watching. He has been like enjoying Metallica with me as I've kind of like grown to fall in love with it again, revisiting my like 16-year-old self, I guess. He's listened to it in the car with me and he's like, I like this. And so one day, I don't know if I even told you this, I was coming up the steps and he was just upstairs in his playroom playing with Legos. And I heard him going, stunna, 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 stunna. I was like, stunna, stunna. That's Ride the Lightning. That's like the title track from that song. And I played it. I was like, is this what you're singing? He's like, yeah, it rocks. I was like, cool, dude. And so I showed him a live video of Metallica recently playing it. And he saw Kirk's Mummy guitar and said, that's the coolest looking thing I've ever seen. Can I be Kirk for Halloween? I was like, yeah, I'll make you the guitar. So I printed it off at 80% scale and traced it onto cardboard, cut it out, glued it all together. It has toothpick frets that I sanded and put on there, dude. And silver Sharpied. And I spray painted and then completely hand drew with a bunch of Sharpies the Mummy poster.
Wait, I thought you had, because you showed me the picture last night, I thought you had printed the Mummy picture.
No,
you drew that?
I drew it. Yeah.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We should pop the picture up right now so people can see it.
Yeah.
Because Adam Savage, I think, would be very proud of that. Like when you started saying like, yeah, I shrunk it down to 80% scale, and it's like you've been watching a lot of Tested.
Well,
recently.
I mean, normally a kid, that's about right. Like for like toys and stuff, it's usually 80 for a kid. And so Morgan did the same thing. She went upstairs. She came back downstairs because I was just hanging with Graham, and it was already like pretty much fleshed out. And she's like, "Wait, how did you do that?" I was like, "I don't know. I just looked at it and then I took the right colors and kind of just made it." And she gets really annoyed at me.
I mean, it's really good. It's genuinely really, like you showed me the picture on your phone last night and I just assumed that you had printed the picture of it.
No, I drew it. And then, I screwed some strap buttons into it. So he's got a strap and he's got a big curly wig and we're going to cut off some sleeves and he's going to walk around and my in-laws are going to follow me with a little battery powered katana. And I'm just going to be like playing, they're going to be roadies. They bought Metallica shirts, and so they're going to be our roadies. And Morgan's going to be Cliff, the bass player. She got a big Misfits shirt, and she has her denim jacket. She's going to play my P bass.
Dude, you should get a bunch of like shitty fake tattoos on Amazon and cover your in-laws in. Oh yeah,
or just those sleeves that you just pull up,
or like draw like neck tats on them or something.
Oh man,
that would be awesome.
I love Halloween so much, and I think most of our neighborhood won't know. I mean, unless I'm playing Master of Puppets, like I don't think they'll know who we are.
I don't think anybody in my neighborhood would get it.
Yeah.
Like, are you Jimi Hendrix? Or are you Red Hot Chili Peppers? Or,
right.
Yeah, I don't think I'd get it.
I was Commissioner Gordon one year, and I wore a big trench coat, had a red tie. I looked like your prototypical Commissioner Gordon from Batman, because I made Graham a Batman bat suit. And I shaved my beard and just had a big mustache, and everyone thought I was Ted Lasso.
Hell yeah!
I was like, I don't know.
Dude,
is this what he looks like?
Nashville, man. Everyone's killing it. So, well, cool. Mm-hmm. We're not doing anything for Halloween. I don't think.
Shame.
We have no plans. But we don't really get trick or treaters in our neighborhood for some reason.
No, you're more spread out.
Yeah, it was when we moved in 3 years ago. Our first Halloween, we were kind of expecting a lot, and we bought a ton of stuff, and then we had like 4 people show up, and we were just sitting out in the front, kind of.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
A bunch of candy
for us. All right, so let's get to the Reverb segment. If you're new here, this is a segment we just started as of the last episode. dippedintone@gmail.com. Send us your Reverb listings. We're going to break them down. We're going to rate them on the show. We did get some comments in the last episode of us not stepping on 60 Cycle Hum.
Right.
Which, to be fair, we didn't know 60 Cycle Hum did this.
I had seen that they like talked about guitars, but I didn't know to what extent they did that.
Yeah.
Because I know them personally.
Yeah, we both do.
But the only podcast I listen to is this one. So.
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
forgive my ignorance.
The only podcast just in general is this one?
Yeah, and usually just to check things. Like,
sick. Okay, cool.
I don't have time. Like, my car drive isn't long enough to warrant it.
A little inside baseball here. I listen to a ton of podcasts, but I don't listen to other guitar podcasts. No offense to because we're friends with a lot of these guys. Philip from 40 Watt and the 60 Cycle Hum guys, Guitar Nerds, Guitar Knobs,
Tone Mob.
Yeah, Blake. Like, no offense, but our jobs are guitar stuff. So,
I usually just drive in silence and just like stare into the abyss, Isn't that what everybody does?
Yeah. Sure. So anyways, our goal here is to not rip off 60 Cycle Hum, but
if we do, we'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Give us notes why, not just, hey, you're doing this.
Yeah. So anyways, submit your Reverb listing to be, I guess, dipped.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. dippedintone@gmail.com. So we got a really interesting one here. Per the Halloween theme, this is, I don't know anything about this. I'm hoping you do a little bit more than I do.
Well, this is from Derek Has Too Many Again, which is a lovely username. It's better than just like, Derek's Tone Hut or something, which is usually
I get it. Derek has too many again, so he's got to sell the stuff. Okay, very campy. I get it.
So this is a Gibson Frankenpaul's Monster Les Paul, custom Frankenstein-inspired finish. I assume that this is something that it was created by Bluesman Vintage,
right,
down in Franklin, Tennessee. So I'll just read it. And it's back. I was lucky enough to acquire Frankenpaul's Monster last year, but the time has come now to part ways with and make some room for something new. This is a truly one-of-a-kind Les Paul with a Frankenstein-inspired finish created by Bluesman Vintage Guitars in Tennessee. It's made up of several different guitars, indicated by its stitching on the finish. That includes a Les Paul custom body, Les Paul standard body, a Les Paul studio neck. To complete the spooky vibe, parts and finish are reliced with a healthy amount of checking throughout and beautifully aged hardware. He got it from Manchester Music Mill, Mythos dealer. Weighs 9 pounds, 6 ounces.
Which is pretty good for a Les Paul. Like,
that's not bad.
That's not a bad weight.
Epiphone case, and he says, as with most guitars, it will likely require a setup to dial in for individual taste. This thing's,
okay.
I mean.
Okay, all right, listen. When I saw this email come through, I immediately flagged it. I was like, we got to talk about this thing. My initial thought was, what the hell is this? This is crazy and weird and awful, but I will admit I saved looking at it until just now, like in detail. Okay. I'm kind of blown away by this. If you look at the work, like look at the checking, look at how like I think this is actually really well done. Now, taste wise, this is not my cup of tea. This is not what I would be into.
No, I don't think Mary Shelley would either.
But it's such an interesting idea. Like if you're going to call something a Frankenpaul, this kind of is exactly what you should do, which is cut up a bunch of other Les Pauls and stitch them together into one Frankenpaul.
But there's something about, and maybe this is going to stand the test of time, unlike Frankenstein's Monster. It makes me nervous to know that there are all these interesting cuts and things that are just being held together with some sort of glue. I mean, I guess a guitar is held together with glue anyway.
Yeah, well, and again, if you ever have a headstock break on your Les Paul, it's held together with glue. And the thing I've always heard with that is the glue joint, if it's been done properly, the repair joint is going to be stronger than the headstock itself. Like it would never break in that place again.
Well, you'd hope, right?
Yeah, you'd hope.
And the one thing I can't tell is it looks like there's actual stitching.
It does. Like, look at that picture there. We're looking at the back where there's that long diagonal line down the back of the two different bodies stitched together. And I appreciate the detail work here about how, the starter body was double bound.
Yeah.
But some of the other elements are from a Les Paul Studio, he said. So there's no binding.
A standard for parts of the body. The studio is the neck.
Okay. But there's no binding on the back for part of it. How did they do that?
I think it's a bandsaw. They probably just cut it and then glued it and then.
No, I'm saying the stitching though, because that is.
I don't know. You just glue it in and then paint over it.
Is that just glued in?
I mean, right? You just drill a bunch of holes and then throw some thread in there.
Okay.
And then you put paint over top of it.
Here's my suspicion though. I think this was really well done. I think when you look at because first of all, the checking, I think is good.
It's not bad
for what it is. I know it's not Murphy Lab. Okay,
no.
Let's be honest, but it's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not razor blade checking.
No.
The weight of the Les Paul, it's a good weight.
Okay.
I think when you look at these joints, yes, it's weird, it's strange, it's out there, but like. Also, did you see the poker chip?
Yeah, it is. It's got a lot of text on it. What does it say?
Just rhythm, treble, rhythm, treble. It's like doubled up.
It's printed twice. What? Okay.
What do you think about it? You're conflicted here.
I am, because like, I see people are gonna just get pissed off at me again because I have aesthetic opinions.
Oh no! Aesthetically, I don't like this. I'm just saying I think it's done well.
It's okay. I mean, like, I think when I think about stuff like the monster, right? He's stitched together in places that, his hand's stitched on, right?
Right.
His head, his ear, or whatever. And there's like specific parts that are stitched on, and it feels like how about we just, I don't know, let's cut it here. It's not like you're cutting a part that makes sense to. But see, that's me.
You're saying
it has to have a story.
Hold on. So,
Adam Savage.
To be clear, your gripe with this is that it's not anatomically correct.
Well, like I think it should be places where it would have broken or something. Like the cutaway would have been knocked off or something.
Well, to be fair, I mean there is the back of the neck
with the corset stitching, which is
that's painted.
I hope so.
Yeah,
it looks like there's screws.
Although it does look like there was a neck break there.
Probably so.
At some point. Yeah, that was definitely a broken headstock. Had to have been.
Wow. This is, I wonder, okay, so there's always that myth that at guitar factories and stuff, there's just like dumpsters full of cut up pieces.
Right.
So I wonder if Bluesman Vintage, if they went dumpster diving off Elm Hill Pike.
Yep. Yep.
And said, hey, look, I got this. And they're like, stitch it together.
So you're saying you don't like it because there's not a story here.
Yeah.
But that could be the story.
It could be the story.
But we don't know.
The story kind of sucks, though.
Well, that's subjective.
I'm just like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as when people relic guitars and they put wear in places where no one touches. It's that same kind of idea.
Yeah. But dude, I mean, okay.
I know.
Sure.
I know.
But we're talking about a Frankenstein themed guitar here.
Yeah.
So where would you have, if you were doing this and you were thinking Zach thoughts of, this has to be anatomically correct, or else Adam Savage is going to get mad at me if he sees this. Where are you cutting it up?
I would have probably broken off from the cutaway, like all the way, like where the pick guard goes, like all the way down, boom. Because like if you dropped it like really hard, you could have snapped it there.
Yeah, but I've never seen a broken cutaway on a Les Paul.
I've seen guitars that got snapped, but like they were like run over by stuff. Not the Firebird X, it was other ones. But yeah, like the headstock. Maybe do some other things to make it a little more Frankenstein-esque, mishmash of hardware.
Okay.
Like, that sort of, it's small.
That's valid.
It's the details.
Yeah.
That really make, like, it has one Grover tuner or something, like those sort of things. But that's just because I like, there's a reason why I obsess over knob placement. And the reason why when I design pedals, I mean, you've literally bore witness to it. I draw them first and then I figure it out later.
Yeah.
And so for me, this seems like we have all the stuff. Let's make it work.
Yeah. I get it.
And it's fine. It's cool. Okay. We have to address the price.
The price is interesting because so they're asking $3,600 for this. Mm-hmm. How do you price something like this?
I don't know.
This is obviously a very, very niche guitar. This is going to appeal to like a small handful of people.
Dumpster Gibson Les Paul, the Frankenstein. So there's a video attached to this, which we didn't see.
We'll link the video down below.
Yeah.
We should, because I think that's probably going to give you the story that you're looking for.
That we missed. I didn't see that.
Because you're probably right. This probably was, in part, a bunch of cut up bodies stuck together.
I mean,
look,
it's
man,
kind of cool.
I think it's kind of rad. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't buy this. It's not my aesthetic. I'm not into the thing. But if you're the type of person, I'm thinking of someone like John Five, right? Who's known to be kind of into the classic horror film thing.
Or Kirk Hammett.
Or Kirk Hammett. Yeah, like if you're that type of person, you're into classic horror and not paraphernalia, ephemera, and like all of the stuff that was made around that. You got a collection, maybe you got a themed basement, you know?
Right. Hey,
you got a movie theater, because this is going to go to
Frankie's
somebody.
Lab down there.
Yeah, if you got $3,600 to spend on something like this, you probably got a home theater that's got some like theme to it. I think that's cool for someone that's into this thing. I just don't know how you price this.
So we've yet to determine a rating system. So should it be something like, because we saw a few people say yay, nay, or
Okay, well, for the guitar itself, I'm into it. I think it's cool. It looks like it was well done. I appreciate the aesthetic. It's not my aesthetic. It's not what I'm into. But, you know, it's campy, it's kitschy, it's fun. Someone's going to really dig it. It's going to be a conversation piece for somebody. The price is hard for me. $3,600. It's like you're pricing it at not quite custom shop levels.
You could
used custom shop.
Yeah, I mean, like a Les Paul Custom, probably you could get it for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's just a thing, you gotta want it.
Yeah, this is going to be worth it to. There's one person watching this right now that's like on Reverb and it's in their cart. They're checking out.
Yeah.
And for that one person, $3,600 is like right in the pocket.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a no for me, dog.
It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Okay. It's gonna be a yikes for me, dog.
Yeah, it's fun, but I mean, well, you know, shit can't go back now, you know. But it's interesting.
It's
Derek,
interesting.
I wish you the best of luck.
Props to Bluesman Vintage for this. This is cool. I like this idea of the themed guitar that has, it's not just like a paint job. It's not, you know, because with Frankenstein, you could go down a few different routes. When I first saw the listing, like the subject line of the email, I thought it was like an EVH.
Oh yeah,
Les Paul.
striped,
yeah,
red and white.
This is actually cool. So
what? You don't like the Frankenstrat look?
No, I'm not sorry, I'll say it here. I'm not a huge Van Halen fan. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my. I know I'm going to get.
No, it's
completely,
okay.
No, it's not okay. I'm going to get
Van
completely
Hagar fan.
shat on in the comments. I know, it's fine. All the respect in the world for that band and for Eddie and everything. It's just not my thing.
It's a. I think liking Van Halen is a commitment. It's like
in
a
what
life.
way?
Like you gotta like. I mean, like you can passively like it. It's like, you know, running with the Devils on. It's like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. I think
like,
that's
to be
my level of Van Halen
Yeah.
enjoyment. It's like, yeah, cool. It's Eruption comes on. I listen to it once a year, and I'm like, yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, but being like a fan, like you really gotta like Dave or Sammy or Gary Schramm.
I think I'm 15 years too young to be into Van Halen. I think that's my problem.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think if you were a guitar player who was in their early teens to early to mid 20s in the 80s,
Or like 78 or 79, when did the first album came
early
out?
80s when Van Halen really blew up, I completely understand the appeal for Van Halen. But
Matthew's dad, he tells a story. He was driving, he heard like the first single come on, and he like had to pull over.
Yeah.
Because he was like, what? Who is this?
no, I get it.
And like, I mean, I think the first album does have that effect.
Yeah.
But you got to really like Dave to like really get into it. But I kind of like it. It's so just like,
It's fun.
silly.
It's cool. It's just not my thing. And the Frankenstrat thing, I wouldn't have any kind of EVH themed thing because it's so recognizable.
Yeah.
And it's so like the thing. I would feel like an imposter because I don't know that much about Eddie, because he's one of those guitar players that, I mean, we both know people that are obsessed with EVH and know every single little minute detail about, you know, the amps and the Brown sound and like how they were getting the tone and everything like that. We've had people on this podcast that are, you know, fans like that, and I'm just not.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's okay.
It's okay.
I think like who would you say is your guy for that? Like who is your like obsession?
David Gilmour.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean like when you were younger, and you discovered the Gilmore-ish website.
Oh yeah.
Was it like a revelation? Because it was for me.
Yeah.
It's like, how many Big Muffs did they make?
Yeah.
And he had which one?
Yeah.
I can't get that one.
In fact, we're gonna try and go see him in New York in a few weeks because he's
Like
playing
watch him play or just like find him on the street?
Well, hopefully just watch him play. If I met David Gilmour, I would legitimately be beyond starstruck. I wouldn't know what to say to him.
I think he's up there for me too, because there was a time in my life where I only really listened to Pink Floyd.
Yep.
And I would watch like Live at Pompeii like once a month.
Yeah, man.
And
those whim cabs behind.
Oh
them
yeah, and like when they're playing Echoes, like, and they're going behind, like, that they did in the Sabotage or whatever the Beastie Boy video is. Like that to me is, I don't know if it gets much cooler than that. I mean, the rest of
the middle of Pompeii in the middle of broad daylight, with no shirt on because it's too damn hot.
Just a fuzz face full of sand.
Yeah, and like a dozen 412 whim cabs behind you, just ripping your face off.
Yeah,
man.
I think that, as far as like a concert movie, is so good because there's like segments where they're walking, and you're like, what's Richard Taylor doing? But then you watch like The Song Remains the Same, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, obviously for me it's Billy. And I don't know. It's like every couple months I'll hear something. I was learning, and I don't know how often this happens to you or if you even care about this sort of stuff, but I was relearning some stuff, and I heard things in his playing because he's so, like, every time he did something, he would play it a little different in the studio. And I heard something I'd never heard ever in Down Brownie, that song. Yeah. And it just blew my mind that I've been listening to this band for literally my entire life. And that album, like, in like the entirety of it for, I don't know, the past 10 years. Yeah. And I never heard this one little salvo that he did. And it literally boggled my mind.
Yeah. I think the other player for me that I'm at that level with would be Derek Trucks.
Sure.
Which is interesting because from a gear perspective, Gilmour and Trucks are on completely different opposite sides of the spectrum. Where, I sent you that there's this amazing thing that someone on Instagram created. To whoever you are, thank you. Where they, in excruciating detail, did these like weird CGI renders of Gilmour's rig in the during the 80s, I think it was.
Like a Division Bell sort of rig setup. Yeah.
Down, it's like 12 reels long, breaking down every single part of his signal chain. And it was unbelievable. That rig that he had at that period was like out of control. But then when you look at someone like Derek Trucks,
the cable,
it's, but you get into, what era, you can sort of break Derek Trucks eras down by where his super reverb was at in terms of modifications.
Okay.
Like, this is when he was running these speakers, and then he had Alessandro change the transformer on this, and then he was running the Alessandros here, and then Crossroads 2010 he was using the PRS amps, and then he went back to the supers. Like,
that seems way dorkier
than
even having like a CG render of a guitar rig. Like, I mean, I like it, but like, I think the thing about like obsessing over a guitar rig where there's physical things that you can get, like it seems a little bit more approachable for anybody.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, hey, they changed the bright cap from 470 picofarad to this, it's like, do you, like, who gives a shit?
And I'm not interested in it in so much as trying to, like, I'm not going to do that thing. I'll never sound like Derek Trucks, and I would never want to sound like Derek Trucks. But,
you think you think it would be easier to sound like David Gilmour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because it's, I mean, as much as it is, these, like there is a sound for each kind of iteration of his career.
Yeah, it wouldn't be easy. Like, you would have to learn, you have to know a lot about signal flow and effects and like how to play to certain sounds and what generations of what effects he was using and all that kind of stuff. But you can't sound like Derek Trucks.
No.
You just can't. I mean, we're talking about a guy that doesn't even use a monitor on stage. With Tedeschi Trucks Band, there's no wedge for Derek. He stands in the same spot of the stage at every show because that's his mix. he mixes, and that's why he just never moves. He just stands there because he can hear enough of his amps, and he can hear the rhythm section. He can hear Susan. Like you can't sound like Derek Trucks.
No. Yeah, I mean, it's wild, like the amount of detail that people get into, and like I appreciate it. You know, when I said who cares, you know, like I'm just joking, but it's I don't know if I've ever been quite that obsessed.
No,
about it. Well, maybe Ghostbusters, but that's like, you know, kind of. I mean, that's altogether dumb anyway. But
that's not dumb. It's not okay. Well, it's not dumb to be.
No, for me,
what?
It's all. I mean, like at least obsessing about those things. It's like you could do that. Like you could change your amp and affect something that you use to create music. And I'm like, the Clippard valve used on this Proton pack is turned 90 degrees.
No. Here's why it's not dumb. Is because you building that Proton pack. Is that your first one?
Yes.
Okay. I remember when you were building that. You building that, like the skills that you developed, the experience that you got, all of the things that you learned how to do, like aging the hardware, researching to find the exact single little detailed thing you were looking for, actually does apply to what you're doing now. You were actually just talking about, I mean, do you want to talk about the hardware thing? Like aging hardware and all that kind of stuff? Like that arguably came from that project.
You're that Adam Savage and doing that and just, I don't know. I'm just so obsessive about that stuff. And I think that's part of the reason why in the last episode where people are kind of giving me grief over the color of the grill cloth. Like those are the things that I obsess about. As much as I love good guitar sound and great guitars and pedals and all that stuff, I do love it. But the aesthetic of it is so paramount to what I think creates something that is interesting.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I don't know. That's why, like on that, my Murphy Lab, it's a ridiculous guitar. It's ridiculous, and I changed the tailpiece because I thought it didn't look right.
Aesthetics matter so much. We've talked about this before in terms of like not having gear on stage, right? Like the aesthetic value of being a rock band and having amps and drums and stuff on stage really matters. I think people maybe don't realize how much the aesthetic value of something impacts your impression of it. Like, for instance, you with the Jack White amp, in the last episode, you brought up like, a business that had just bad typeface. And I noticed that stuff too.
Yeah.
One of our closest friends, Shay, Designed by Shay on Instagram. She's done all my branding and Tilly's branding. She's a brilliant designer and artist. And she's taught me so much about like typefaces and
kerning,
all these things that I never would have known about before. And what you know about it, like once you notice this stuff, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And so when something is done poorly, it just affects your view of it.
And not even poorly, just like, in your opinion, not to the maximum ability that someone could have. Because it's not even about like, that's a bad job. It's not even that. It's just like, I don't know. I just care so much about those things. And so I apply that level of care with most things in my life. And, anyone could argue with anything about, the merit of that or like, if their critique is correct or not. But that's why I obsess over changing parts. Once you hold, I've played a lot of bursts and a lot of vintage guitars, and once you see it, you can never take it away.
Yeah.
And it's like, playing the Two Rocks, people don't get it. They're so expensive, whatever. You play it and you're like, I get it. And you can never go back from that.
Or even just crack one open and look in the chassis and look at how they're built and what components they're built with. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I get it. It's just a different thing. Yeah, man, the aesthetics are huge. I mean, for me, when we were doing the EP, it came time to figure out the album art, which I've never done before. There were so many things about that process of like, once the music was finished, I kind of thought that was it. And you
didn't make like an album for like a MySpace thing when you were a teenager?
And there were so many things along the way that I had to learn how to do and that I screwed up. But when Tilly and I were going through, and I knew I wanted to use one of Tilly's photos for the album art, and it was like we were going through all of her film pictures and all of them were vibey and cool and beautiful. But when we found the one, which she shot a year and a half ago. If you haven't seen it, it's, you know, a picture. It's my hand holding a rose over a pile of flowers, and that was part of a project that she was working on for herself, like these self-portraits, and she was trying to set the focus because she was shooting herself. So she just had me hold that rose roughly where she was going to be sitting, and then that, you know, that image wasn't like a throwaway image for her, but it wasn't what she was doing. But when I saw it again, like a year and a half later, I immediately knew, I was like, that's it. That's what I want. And because I knew that I wanted to have the album art be, it's like, I don't want a guitar on this. I don't want anything guitar related on this. You know, I want it to be able to stand alone, you know, and I guess, you know, have some kind of quality or air of quality to it. And when I found that picture, it was like, yeah, this is the thing. And
that's the thing about the look of something, and everyone's like aha moment is different. But when you know, you just know. Yeah. And it could be about anything that a creative is doing. Yeah. And I don't know, I think every time, and this is a good rule for anybody that's ever struggled with that, usually when you've not learned to embrace that, you second guess it, and then you always come back to it anyway. Yeah. So just kind of roll with it, and pretty soon you'll start to trust your gut a little bit more. And then it also like helps you hone in that focus. Yeah. To know what you truly like or don't like. Yeah. And I'm just a douche about it, I guess.
Oh, well, segue. Let's talk about clones for a minute.
Do we have enough time to talk about clones?
I think we can touch on it here, and then we can dive deeper in the bonus.
Okay.
Little current events here. So recently, Warm Audio released the WA-C1, which is a clone of the Boss C1, the Roland.
Yeah.
C1.
Yeah, the CE1.
CE1.
Yes.
Yeah, that's early pedal stuff. That would have been what, 78?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's the first. It's not their first compact. They had like the little. There's like a little amplifier preamp box thing that you could plug into something, but that was really. It's a chorus. It's the chorus out of a Roland Jazz chorus, essentially. Right. With a preamp. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do we think about this, and what do we think about Warm Audio? And I should point out here, I have worked with Warm Audio in the past. They have sent me gear, so I have some of their rack gear that I genuinely love, like their mic preamps and stuff I use on a daily basis. The pedals, though, because they've done the Klon.
Yes.
They've done a Fox, the Fox Fuzz.
The Fox Tone Machine.
Fox Tone Machine.
They've done an OCD.
Yeah.
Zen Drive.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
No, it's okay. And I think that's it.
And now this.
The
WAC1. What do we think about it?
Well, this one I find a little less fault in, or at least I have less complaints to have against it, because it's not exactly like the Roland. Like, it looks close. Yeah. But in every other iteration, they've tried and boasted almost in a way about trying to copy the aesthetic of it. Yeah. And to me, that's so. It's like I understand why you would kind of argue that is important, but a lot of the things that they're trying to copy still exist. Yeah. So it's not like we have to have an exact replica of a Klon Centaur. If you're bold enough, you can buy one. But that one is kind of the outlier because it's so expensive. But an OCD or a Zen Drive, you can buy them. And so I feel like the problem with all this is you're skirting the line on trade dress. You don't have to agree or like anybody that made any of those things. But I feel like you do need to respect what they've done from a visual standpoint. And I feel they skirt the line with that. Sound, who cares? Like, Well,
yeah, from a circuit perspective, like being the pedal guy, as I understand it, you can't copyright a circuit, or you can't.
I don't think you can trademark it.
Okay, because I mean, the pedal industry is, how many. It's like every overdrive that exists is one of three, or based off of one of three circuit designs.
Well, not every, but a lot. Yeah.
I mean, the majority of the market, it seems.
Sure. Yeah.
And so from that perspective, or from a sound perspective, I mean, yeah, we all take part in the clone thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's a CE1 but with some mods. It's this but my take on this. Like, that's not the issue. The aesthetics, though, getting back to that, it's like, and again, I agree with you. This doesn't really bother me because unless you're looking at a vintage one,
right,
you're not going to run into that at like Guitar Center or something.
No, and I think you'd look at it and you wouldn't get confused about what you're getting. And I think to a layperson, you know, if you took some sandpaper or whatever to one of the centavos or whatever they're called, you might be able to fool someone into thinking it's a Klon. It's not like enclosure is not exact, and then it has some other stuff that's not exact. But you know, the same with the OCD, and I know that, you know, they say different things, but I feel like the Zen Drive one is gone because Hermida or well, now Love Pedal, they own that. They own the mark, and you own the right to the trade dress of it if you own the mark. Yeah. So that's where I kind of draw the line. I'm surprised. I don't know if the OCD one still exists, because Mike Fuller is very, like, he protects his mark, as he should. Yeah. You know, you don't have to like him, but you do need to respect it. So that's where I think that there's a problem. And I in the recording side of things, I mean, they definitely make stuff that looks like traditional rack gear, but I feel like that's even, it seems like a bit more commonplace maybe to kind of copy something outright almost.
Yeah, I think so in the pro audio space for sure. It's like, you know, oh, I'm buying an 1176, for example, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to buy, you know, a Purple Audio MC77, or I'm going to buy, you know, in fact, I had one of the Warm Audio 1176s, and it just stopped working. And I've told them this, like, it just broke. Yeah. In like 6 months of being in a rack, it just stopped working. And that is one of the problems with Warm Audio. The thing that I see, especially in their pro audio space, their mic preamps, their EQs and stuff, I see it as good proof of concept gear. Right. Meaning it's cheap, entry level, you know, made overseas, made to a price point. Most of it sounds good. You know, a couple of their things sound amazing, like the WA-MPX, which is an Ampex tube mic pre-clone. Sounds awesome. I use it literally on everything. But quality wise, it's not going to last. No. And so for me, like, one of the things that I have, again, that they sent me was their Pultec EQ clone, which is a tube EQ, right? Yeah. And I use it a lot. So now I look at that and think, okay, I should actually probably buy a real Pultec, right? Or a real, like, pro quality version, because I'm using this a lot. Yeah. And the Warm Audio stuff to me is a little more prosumer. It's you know, and that's how I feel about their pedals too. I have a few of their pedals, and they're cool. They sound good, but quality wise, it's built to a price point. And
yeah, and I think you're right. I think even in the pedal realm, like, if you get a Centavo, or I think that's what they're called, right? It's probably going to wet your whistle enough to maybe get a Wildwood Mjolnir, or pony up the money to get a Klon. Yeah, if you are, you know, financially able to do that. But it's, I don't know. It's weird because part of it to me, and this, I guess, is probably the ultimate thing. I feel like they do these things and they're cheap. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a completely derogatory way. They're made to a price point, and you can make pedals cheap. Like, it's not an impossibility. But I feel like when you have something that looks so close and it's so affordable, it makes everyone else that does something that they put a little bit more heart and soul into, or they're not a big corporation, feel overpriced or unapproachable. And I mean, people are going to support who they ever want to support, but that's part of it for me. Yeah. Because, and you know, you could say that about a lot of brands releasing stuff at a price point, but I think that when people do that have money to advertise and are really being able to push, whereas normal guys, even big pedal companies, they don't have that kind of money to advertise. Yeah. They can't do it, and you can't compete. And so it changes the consumer's mind as to what the value of something truly is.
And I think this is unique to the pedal market, because if there was a guitar company, like if Warm Audio decided to release Strats, right, that were, I mean, clones of Strats, but they were made in China at, you know, a fraction of the price. And this does happen. There are companies that do this, but I think people would be much more up in arms about that. Certainly the companies, Gibson for sure, would be litigating that as quick as possible. But I think there's a little more leeway in it with the pedal world because again, there is already that standard of like, well, people are cloning circuits all the time. So what's the difference with the aesthetic? And I agree with you. Like once you start to get into that aesthetic thing, it's especially of stuff that's currently being made, that's a bit treacherous. And it does, I think, kind of undercut a portion of the industry, especially for smaller, more independent builders,
And I think it could even potentially like pull the price down of things that they're emulating, because it's, if you're able to get, and I mean that maybe that's a good thing, but if you're able to get something at a point that sounds relatively close, then why? It's harder to justify the why of spending the money on the real thing. Yeah. And, this is the world we live in, unfortunately. So,
there you go.
But, yeah.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments down below. How do you feel about the Warm Audio stuff or just clones in general? Do we want to shill?
Well, we could shill something in here. I didn't prepare. Well, I don't think we'll be able to dip a rig. Why don't you show
somebody? Oh, right. Do we have a rig?
I don't think we can today.
Okay. We got a hard out here. We're going to the Two Rock party tonight at the Underdog.
Yes.
Which by the time this comes out, obviously will have happened. But so we got a hard out here in a minute. We got to get the bonus episode in for the patrons. I mean, tell you what, why don't
we each pick something?
Yeah, let's pick something here to shill from High Voltage Guitars.
Okay.
And if you're interested, highvoltageguitars.com.
That's right.
Links in the description.
Okay, let's go.
All right. All right, you go first.
Okay, so I grabbed this Frank Brothers Sonar.
Wow.
And you got to meet these guys.
Yep.
And I've never played this one, this specific model. They sent me an arcade as a loaner.
Yep.
And it was a very cool guitar. It went back to get sold to someone. But this one was ready to go, and they said, hey, if you want to do this, let's do it. And so I ordered this one. This one is a 25.5-inch scale. It's got a maple neck, alder body, I think. I'm really bad with Fender woods.
It looks like it
or
could
maybe it's
be
ash.
Swamp ash with the grain.
I think it's ash. Maybe it's ash. They're proprietary pickups, and it's got like this Music Master sort of look with the anodized and the desert sand, and it's really cool. It has this one has a slimmer neck on it. But just the attention to detail, they make their own neck plates. They're all slot head screws, which I really like.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's got a slot head screw, even the strap buttons. But it's just a really cool guitar, and we're one of only 2 stores in the country to carry them. And we got a couple more coming in the next week.
Yeah, I met them at Fretboard Summit. Super nice guys. We had the awkward conversation of... I just was like, I'm sorry, I don't like the look of your... what's the flagship model?
Arcade.
The Arcade?
Yeah.
I was like, and even seeing it in person, I thought would change my mind. It didn't. It's not my cup of tea aesthetically. I played it, and my God.
They're great.
Oh, my God, it's so good.
Yeah.
This, though, I really like this shape and this aesthetic. It has the matched body color to the P90 covers is really nice.
Yeah.
And even from here, I can see the fit and finish on that thing is... unbelievably
it's perfect.
good.
It's perfect. I love that they did a paint line around the headstock.
Yeah.
It's got a silkscreen logo, a la what a 50s California made instrument would have had. It's just immaculate in its construction, and these proprietary OEM pickups sound really good.
Yeah.
Well, that's always a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But these sound great. And I really like it.
One detail I really like here is where the neck, the fretboard ends, is very, very squared off and clean. It has this sort of like mid-century modern kind of feel to it against the rest of the body. Like, it's beautiful.
The tolerances are crazy tight. It's like, I don't know. It's a lovely instrument.
Nice.
So someone's going to be really happy when they take this home.
Nice. Okay. Mine is... divided by 13.
All my coasters.
Yeah. I noticed you got coasters for the... Is that to keep the like Tolex on the cab?
Yes, no footprints.
The BTR. So I'm glad to see that Eli and the crew at Two Rock, because that when they took over Divided by 13, they didn't re-release all of Fred's circuits.
Right.
Because he had a lot. Like, to be honest, there was a lot of Divided by 13 circuits out there. And they're kind of hard to keep track of because each one has a 3-letter and a number name and everything. So if I remember correctly, the BTR is the left side of the FTR 37, I believe.
The left side. No.
Or is this the Marshall one?
This is the Brian Rice. So this is more of
that's right. Okay.
a English voiced thing, and it's really punchy, really powerful. It just nails that British growl thing.
Yeah.
And it's now made to Two Rock specifications,
which is really cool. They did make some aesthetic changes, they changed the typefaces on the front and updated a few things, made the things look a little cleaner overall. I don't think that they've modified, the circuits or anything like that. I think they're still Fred's, designs.
Only to improve quality of life for their construction methods, but
build quality. Because the thing about Divided by 13, it was basically always just Fred and an assistant, like Brett Papa.
Yes.
Brett built, over 1,000 amps while he was there, as far as I know. And so, they did make a few changes because now they're moving into more of a production facility and everything like that. But I've said it before, I'm really happy to see this brand get picked up by Two Rock. I was worried that, another amp conglomerate brand would have bought this and, from Fred and maybe not have been so intentional about keeping the spirit of Divided by 13 alive.
And pushing it further.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really happy to see that Two Rock has it. I think they're doing a really good job with it. And I've not played. Actually, when we get done, I might want to plug one of these up because I haven't played one of the updated versions. So.
We've actually, not this one, but another one. We spec'd out the first color combination. It's this black one. It's all black.
Yeah.
And Eli's calling it the Vader, and so we're like that's now going to be like a colorway.
Which model is that?
That is the CJ11. Okay. It's like a tweedish thing.
Yeah. Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out. Support us on Patreon. We're about to go record the bonus section for the patrons over there.
Yeah.
And links are in the description. Send us your reverb listings, dippedintone@gmail.com. Send us your rigs to be dipped if you're a patron. Also dippedintone@gmail.com.
If you're a patron.
If you're a patron.
We will check.
Yeah, we'll check. Oh, we'll find out. Don't you worry about that.
All right.
All right. See y'all.
See ya.